earliest memories are coming to this track when I was 2, 3 years old, just watching the cars go around the banking, sitting with my mom and dad who raced at the time as well. I remember seeing the old IMSA cars flying around the track and realizing that someday I'd like to do that. And luckily for me, I was able to get into go-karts at a young age and move up to here now. My family's been totally supportive about the whole thing. Ever since I wanted to race go-karts when I was 6, to racing schools, to trying to get rides here and there, helping sponsors. Whatever I needed, they were there to help me, give me advice. One thing they'll always bring home is never burn a bridge, and patience and consistency. My mother and father have to be probably my biggest inspiration, since they've always been there for me since day one. There's a lot of other people too, but not from day one. That year was really special for me to try and achieve finishing a 24-hour race when I was 16. There were several other 16-year-olds doing it too, so I was trying to go in the record books as well as doing it the same year, same race, and I'm only going to be 16 once, so I had to do it then. I had picked up a race to do the Grand-Am Cup race here at Daytona. So that year I signed with Tafel Racing and was doing a support race actually for another team in the Grand-Am Cup race. Wasn't expecting much out of it, was actually going to do it with my father as a father-son event for Christmas, but he felt that we had a chance to win, so my teammate from Tafel Racing, Charles Espenlaub, hopped in the car with me and we ended up coming out with a victory, which was a great way to start the professional season. I would say the competition at this level of racing is very close, as you can see on the timing boards of the distance between first and 20th position is usually within a second and a half. I mean, it really pushes you every year, every time you're on the track to improve. And I would say what I learned from when I was 17 to 19 to 20 even is where I learned the most. The learning curve was quite huge there. Now it's really fighting for those tenths and hundredths of a second opposed to whole seconds when I was starting out. Being in a series where there's multiple drivers, obviously you're going to have more room for error. You have several other people hopping into the car that you don't know if they're going to sit in the same position or change the belts or change the bias of the brakes. Anything can go, really. So when you get into the car every time for a new stint, you have to check everything so it's back to your liking, which is obviously more of a complicated procedure than just hopping in for a 2-hour race and it's your car, whereas this one you have to share with everyone else. Well, hopefully I'll be racing in Grand-Am for the rest of 2009 and not just a 24-hour race. I'm still looking for more sponsors to come on board. I would like to obviously have some results like we did last year, and I'll be with Farnbacher Lowes again, and couldn't be with a better team to have an opportunity to get those results. If I were to name 3, I would probably name Daytona just because of the history I've had here and how many laps I've turned here. Then I would say Watkins Glen being one of my home tracks when I grew up in Buffalo, New York. And then Laguna Seca just because I really find it easy to get into the rhythm there. The most important mentor I've ever had who races is Wolf Hensler. I raced with him for a couple years, and during those couple years I learned so much information I thought my brain was going to explode. Just between the data he was able to teach me, how to read it, different techniques to use on the track, and stuff to use and say off the track and to do off the track, it really paid out. Off the racetrack, I actually live in Jacksonville, Florida now, and I'm finishing up school there, so that takes up a lot of my time. If I can't ever get out, I like to go surfing quite a bit. I used to snowboard all the time when I lived in the north and used to teach it actually. So whenever I can find a way to hop onto a ski trip, I'll usually take advantage of that. I guess the only other thing I do is I play lacrosse for school, but that's about it. I would say the best thing about racing at Grand-Am is just the competitiveness. You're always going to be racing someone, and to get a win means a lot. And now that the series is so developed with so many talented drivers and manufacturers in here pressing forward for the win, if you can get a podium or a win, that's going to be an awesome weekend.